Good morning, everybody. My name is Zoltán Kész, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Central European Affairs podcast. My guest today is András Simonyi, former Hungarian ambassador to Washington, D.C. András, when was the last time you played together with Antony Blinken on your band?
Well, good morning to you, and what a pleasure to see you again. We played our last concert together 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when the whole political campaign started, and and he's a very, very good musician and an old friend.
Is he going to be as good a Secretary of State as a musician, in your opinion?
Oh, he'll be a much better Secretary of State. Although
Oh, I
he's a really good guitarist. And he also has a great voice. So I think he's a great personality, rock solid, has very firm views, and so I'm really excited about him taking over the State Department.
Perfect. Now, András, 4 days ago, when I sent you a message about this podcast, you sent me a message back saying that you had a great day the day before, so on the 20th. What's your expectation to the new administration in the United States?
The morning of the 20th, I went for a walk. I was a little depressed. I lived very close to the White House. And I looked around, military all over Washington, blockades, and so the White House was totally sealed off. But as the day progressed, I really got a lot more optimistic, and it ended as a great day. And the fireworks in the evening was very symbolic of the moment of change. So my expectations are high. I'm rooting for this administration. Although I am, if you want, I am, I'm a centrist. I could easily work very closely with either moderate Republicans or moderate Democrats. But I think the moment is ripe for a strong American leadership in the world, and that is really my expectation. Also, I expect Joe Biden to progress on a number of issues that are dividing America these days. He needs to address not only the COVID crisis, but he needs to address urgently the social and economic crisis that is hurting America and is dividing America. So, look, it's a difficult time, but for heaven's sake, I have not in my lifetime seen a time when things were not difficult. This is a great leadership, and I'm very optimistic.
What are the domestic and foreign policy challenges of the new Biden administration?
Well, the domestic challenge number one is the deep divide in American society. And if you've noticed, um, Donald Trump got a lot of votes. Joe Biden got a lot more, but still 74 million Americans voted for Donald Trump. Um, and it shows that there is a deep uh, divide in American society, and so task number one is to heal the divide, to heal America, and give all Americans hope, not just Democrats, not just those who voted for Donald Trump, but all Americans hope that America can regain its strength. And it leads me to the foreign policy objectives. If America wants to lead in the world, it has to fix things at home first. America is only as strong as its democracy, its democratic institutions, and of course, its economy is, but the two are related. In foreign policy, the number one challenge slash threat is China, no doubt. China is an economic and technological challenge, but it's an existential threat. China is becoming ever more aggressive. It has historic and global ambitions, and poses a threat to democracies across the world. And only American leadership can make sure that the West can withstand the pressure from China. So besides that, of course, there are a number of issues it will have to deal with. It has to repair the transatlantic relationship. It has to push back on Russia. It will have to deal with Iran. But I repeat, the number one challenge for the U.S. and for the West, if you want, is China.
Now, let's come from China to Europe. How do you see the European Union and America's relationship in the light of the new changes in the administration?
Looking at Europe from Washington D.C., I see that there is a sigh of relief in Europe after the election of Donald Trump. Of course, repairing the relationship is not going to be easy. There is no magic wand. I think, however, the relationship has never been as bad as people think, but it is also much more complex and complicated than people think. Now, I can see Europe is kind of having its own problems, which of course translates into difficult attitudes towards the United States. There are those who really want to see America regain its leadership role. Others would like to take an equal distance between the United States and the East, namely Russia and China. So, however, I do believe that common interests are going to drive this relationship, and the deep understanding that the major challenges in the world, where I would put democracy and climate change at the top of the agenda, we can only face these challenges if America and Europe hold hands. The messages from the European Union, the European Commission, the leaders of the European Union are very, very positive. And let's leave it at that. I do think that America is ready for a reinvention of the transatlantic relationship, and this is it's in this context I would look at the great possibilities this incoming administration has for Central and Eastern Europe.
Now, you mentioned that in America, there was a big divide in society due to the Trump administration, due to Trumpism. Here in Europe, in Hungary especially, we are facing a very similar type of situation. We can call it Orbanism, if you like, or a type of illiberalism or populism. How do you think the new American administration will treat some of these authoritarian regimes in the world, especially in Europe, in our part of the world?
This administration knows Central Europe very well. You might recall that Joe Biden has been a frequent visitor to Central Eastern Europe. He's visited Poland and Hungary many times. And don't forget, he was also one of the leaders as a senator who pushed for American involvement in former Yugoslavia. So he knows the region. And he also is a strong supporter of democracy. Democracy will be on the top of democracy, and stopping the backsliding of democracy in, if you want, quote unquote, in the Western family, it will be on the top of his agenda. So therefore, I think this is why Central and Eastern Europe will be important. But it will also do something that is rarely seen, since the incoming Secretary of State is very, very knowledgeable about Europe and Central and Eastern Europe. He will also differentiate between the different countries. I think the time has come to look at Poland and Hungary differently. It's just not the same case. I think it's a good moment for America to realize why Poland is totally different from Hungary. While they do show some similarities, Poland is a totally different player, and the issues pertaining to Poland are totally different from those pertaining to Hungary. So this is how I see it. But
can you
Central
be
and
a
Eastern,
bit more,
yes.
sorry András, can you be a bit more specific about, for example, how you see the differences in Poland and Hungary? Because what we see here is Orban is always playing the Polish card, saying that we are an ally with Poland, we play together on the same, in the same boat, and so on and so forth. However, I share your views that we are very, very different, especially on the Russian situation, but there might be more specific cases that you can mention.
Well, there are a lot of things. First of all, Poland is strategically an important player. Hungary is not. The backsliding in Poland is bad, but it's not catastrophic. In Hungary, I would say it's bad and it's catastrophic. I would also say that if you want, the leaders of the two countries are very different. Kaczynski deeply believes in what he's doing. I don't think Viktor Orban seriously believes what he is doing. He is transactional. He does things that are important to him. But more importantly, I don't see Polish democracy having been damaged the same way Hungarian democracy and the institutions of democracy have been damaged. But you're right. You mentioned something extremely important. The way Poland looks at the world and the way the Hungarian leadership looks at the world today is totally different. No doubt, Poland is looking west and is looking to an extremely close and strong relationship to the United States. Not only driven by security interests, but also driven by the understanding that technological progress, modernization is really a Western concept, as opposed to Hungary, which is leaning towards more and more towards Russia and China. So there are key differences. I think the two have been lumped together. I personally am very critical of the European Union, why they lumped the two countries together, why they were not able to understand that these are individual countries with distinct and different issues. So that's really my view, and I think there is a I think there is a good chance that the incoming administration will look at these countries separately. But I'd like to add, Central and Eastern Europe is not just Hungary and Poland. It's also the Czechia, it's also Slovakia, it's also Romania. So there are a number of other countries that are really, really important in Central and Eastern Europe, and I think there will be a growing attention. One more thing, the incoming Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, Toria Nuland, is, if you want, may I say this, she's an old fox. You don't say that about ladies, but she's an old fox. She's very knowledgeable about Europe and Central and Eastern Europe. And I think that is an interesting development as well.
Well, thank you. András, can we just take for one more second to Poland and Hungary? A couple of podcasts ago here on the Central European Affairs podcast, we had Leszek Balcerowicz and Peter Rona analyzing the possibilities of Hungary and Poland leaving the European Union in the light of the budget debate process. Do you think that in the future there is a chance that any of the countries, any of the Central European countries will leave the EU?
No, I'm absolutely convinced about this. First of all, you do know that the German influence in Hungary is oversized. I don't think there is any possibility that Germany will allow Hungary to leave the European Union, even if it wanted to. So this is Hungary. On the other hand, Poland once again is a different case. I cannot imagine Poland wanting to leave the European Union. They know that it would be suicide, and Poland would not be able to manage either economically or from the point of view of security if it left the European Union. So I don't see this as a possibility. Uh, um, but you know, you never know. I mean, in history, we've seen stranger things.
Now, talking about Hungary, since this is your homeland as well, in a way, how do you see the chances of the Hungarian opposition for the next elections?
You know, I live in the United States. I deal in security policy, and as much as I can, I stay away from Hungarian internal politics. But I would address it from the point of view of modernization and democracy, which is really something that I deal with a lot. And from that point of view, change, Hungary is ripe for change. I really believe that the overwhelming majority of Hungarians are looking west and not looking to the east. A vocal minority might be looking to China and Russia, but I repeat, the overwhelming majority is looking to the west. And that's where I think the key lies. I think Hungarians are looking for a leader, and they're looking for parties that are going to turn Hungary towards modernization. And rather than picking and choosing between parties, and I hope some of the parties that I see active in Hungary today will succeed, it will result in change. One more thing, I do believe that the Hungarian landscape is unfortunately divided into, if you want, left and right. I'm looking for moderate voices on both sides. I don't think Hungary can embark on a different road unless there is a modern, once again, Western-looking, conservative entity, conservative party that will address the issues that are dear to Hungarians, and maybe many Hungarians do not see the opposition addressing these issues. So there are some signs of these voices emerging. So that's really my comment. So once again, rather than addressing this or that party, this or that personality, I'd like to say this is, I think, this would be the road ahead for Hungarians. And one more thing, not everybody, just like not every American who voted for Donald Trump is actually crazy about Donald Trump. I believe that there are a number of Hungarians who voted for Fidesz who are not crazy about Viktor Orban. They vote for Fidesz because they don't see an alternative. And in this, I think there are some parallels between the United States and Hungary, as strange as it might sound.
Well, I have to agree with you, definitely. One other thing related to Hungary, Viktor Orban has been a very strong ally of President Trump. How do you see the new administration's attitude towards Viktor Orban in the short run? The reason I'm mentioning the short run is because the elections are next year.
Well, first of all, I yes, Viktor Orban has been a close vocal supporter of Donald Trump. Um, I don't believe this says a lot. I don't think Donald Trump spent a lot of time thinking about either Viktor Orban or Hungary. I think it was widely exaggerated by the Hungarian official media. But truth be told, Orban was very vocal about supporting Donald Trump. Nevertheless, uh, I think it is very important and it's very good for Hungary as a nation to have a good relationship with every or any US administration. So you might be surprised if I say that I hope the relationship between Viktor Orban and the incoming administration will improve, will be better. But I don't know. I can't say. I don't think the U.S. administration will be focusing on Hungary. I think the U.S. administration will focus on freedom and democracy. And in this context, Hungary might be sooner or later one of the countries they will focus on. But yes, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so what I can say is that the relationship can be improved, but look, there's America increasingly sees Hungary as a bad apple in the family, and it breaks my heart because I know Viktor Orban. And I remember I stood next to Viktor Orban when we raised the Hungarian flag at NATO, when we became members of NATO. So I do know that originally Viktor Orban was a transatlanticist and he was a strong supporter of the relationship. Therefore, instinctively, I would say that deep inside, he understands he has to improve the relationship with the United States. And I hope he will, but he will have to do a lot to achieve that.
One final foreign policy question. A lot of people claim that former President Trump did one thing well, and that was the relationship with Israel, especially relationship with Netanyahu. Is President Biden going to continue the same policies related to Israel or not, in your opinion?
There will be continuity on a number of issues. First of all, I agree with you. I think he did achieve some breakthroughs in the Middle East. Joe Biden has been a great supporter of Israel. It might not be enthusiastic about a number of policies of Netanyahu, but all in all, no one should expect this administration to turn away from Israel. And at his hearing in the Senate, the incoming Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, was very clear. There will be continuity on a number of issues, and he did speak very positively of the achievements of the Trump administration in the Middle East. Also, on China, I do believe that the Trump administration did the right things. And finally, someone did put the foot in the door for China's aggressive policies in the world. So that's a good thing, and I expect that to be continued. And finally, I'd also say that while the rhetoric around China and the assumed friendship between Trump and Putin, American policy on Russia was very tough during the Trump administration. Don't forget the Magnitsky Act, which was related to corruption, was introduced under a Trump administration, and also the sanctions against Russia were introduced by the Trump administration. So therefore, there will be continuity on these issues, and I think it's important not to throw out the policies that were right just because it was pursued by the Trump administration.
Well, thank you very much, András, and I'm really grateful that you were our guest this morning. One final question, really a personal question. What are you up to nowadays?
Well, I'm doing a lot of things. I'm working with the Atlantic Council of the United States, and I also work with George Washington University, which is one of the great universities in America and is located in Washington, D.C. My focus is transatlantic relations, I work a lot on energy, energy as in climate, and I of course, deal a lot with the questions of democracy and the backsliding of democracy in our democracies. So this is really what takes up my time, and then sometimes I pick up my guitar and play music.
Wow, thank you very much. And I wish you have a good day today. And thank you very much for listening to us. This was the Central European Affairs podcast. And Zoltán Kész is signing off. Goodbye.